this can be fine. Put this over here. And put this over here. Anybody who shows up early can see me fiddling with stuff now. Put that right there. Okay. Sam Cam looks good. I just like saying Sam Cam.
I like you saying Sam Cam too. Makes me feel real special.
If Hyper ever gets a camera, I can say Hyper Cam.
I have a camera.
Nice.
I'm just
Also
not gonna
good.
use it.
Also good.
All right. We're going to hit the record button and let's get the show on the road.
All right.
We get a countdown
We get
too.
a countdown too? This is fancy. Thank you, patrons.
Perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
Maximum effort. In this war, there's no surrender. He's out of line, but he's right. Who the hell is Bucky?
You don't like a fair fight.
I think you're wrong. Which part? All of it.
Think you're the only superhero in the world?
Touche.
All right, awesome. So we're actually here this week. Sorry about last week. Real quick, we'll hit that. Hey, B-Terra Game. Thank you for showing up, and also thanks for subscribing on Twitch. We see there's a Prime subscription from 7 days ago when we weren't here. So, anyways, let's go ahead and get right into this. We're gonna first off thank everybody, the new patrons, for signing up on Patreon. We just launched it and we immediately got quite a few people already. So we'll go ahead and thank Brad, B-Terra Game, Neek, Big Blake, and Surefox for becoming patrons of the show. If you would like to become a patron yourself and support the show and make us have cool themes like Riverside, like we are using right now, which is actually a much better program. So much fancy. We get a drum roll now. I'm gonna try and not play with all these fancy buttons.
He's so excited, guys. You don't even know.
That's why we're late, is because I was playing with all the buttons too much. But the audio quality is just so much better. Thank you for becoming a patron and supporting the show. Let's go ahead, and we have a new channel in the Discord for tournament shoutouts. This was requested by somebody, so if you have a tournament you would like us to shout out on the show, go ahead and drop it in there and we'll make sure we hit it. So far we have May 28th at Mox Boarding House in Portland. Oh, that's already gone. Oh, sorry, there was a tournament May 28th. Anyways, the next one, that was an LVOS qualifier. I hope everybody had fun. June 11th and July 9th, both LVOIS qualifiers at Concord, North Carolina at Mighty Meeple. So go ahead and check that out if you're in the area, or if you just want to fly to North Carolina and play in an MCP tournament.
Heck yeah.
Old news.
They got a
but
great
new
store
news.
there.
Old news, but new news. Super Giants card came out. It's super good. Don't believe the haters. I think she's super interesting, but we'll leave it at that. Unless you guys have a quick one line you want to say.
I'm excited to get her on the table, but I haven't tried her yet.
I've tried her a couple of times. She's really cool. However, she does lose to the rad Chad dad that is Bucky.
Fair enough.
However, that's true of every other character in this game as well. So,
Yeah.
All
Daka
right.
Daka.
Daka. All right. New tactics cards for Black Order also were revealed, and oh my goodness, Black Onslaught is a beast. I have been trying out Black Order for a little bit, and I love Black Onslaught. It's so much fun.
I heard you guys like Mothership. So
Yeah.
I gave your mothership a mothership.
You now have another way to do it. Oh man.
yeah,
It's-
Power
it's a
Swan
good time.
Dwarf is a very interesting parallel to Reality Corvus Proxima. They are both extremely interesting, and I like throwing size 4s, so...
Yeah. Dwarf's relevant in his affiliation now. Corvus's leadership, I think, is really fun. What do you guys have to say about that?
It's you can't play Thanos. I don't like that a card says you can't play a friend of yours, but you know, it's cool or whatever.
Okay.
It's a cool card.
Yeah.
Having
Yeah.
them have a different option is definitely like I'm glad it exists.
Yeah. I'm really excited to test some Black Order, but I haven't done it yet. I've kind of been wrapping up my convocation run where I've been trying to get familiar with the wizards, and they've been really fun, so it's been hard to put them down. But I've got some proxies now, and I got another week to go, so I'll get some reps in this week. I'll have more to say next week if we talk about this again. Fingers
And
crossed.
then Black Order got Well laid plans. Yay. I haven't actually had the chance to play that one yet, so I'm curious how it actually works. I've heard good things, but yeah,
Feels like a funky point value.
yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, I guess if you're going to run like a space moth or a soul supergiant, then maybe you can hit 17 a little easier. But yeah, not sure yet.
Reservations.
Seems hard. I've heard people talk about putting it in foes, and that sounds neat. But it's at like 18. It's like the
No,
cheapest
you
can get it in foes.
I think the actual the way that you get it that actually makes sense is like 19. Because I think 18 you get it
Sure.
without space, which like if you're
Making
playing-
sense. Who needs
Yeah.
that? You just play unaffiliated, and you take
There you go.
Hawk,
Yeah.
Supergiant, Maw, and Goblin. That's what 9 plus 6. That's 15, baby. It's done.
15,
You can play it
yeah.
at every point value besides sword. Just don't care about affiliation.
leaderless and unaffiliated.
Yeah, but
All right.
double well laid plans. That's actually unbeatable.
Fair.
And
I
bullseye.
mean, is it?
Yes,
All right.
literally, by definition, you can't win. The game just ends. On cubes or spiders, you just imagine one-shotting grunts with well-laid plans twice. Tasty.
All right, so the Konami code, the MCP is double well-laid plans. Got it.
Yes. Actually, the Konami code to well-laid plans if you can land Supergiant Spender.
That's the real Konami code. Very true. Hyper, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Did you have a winner for your challenge of the week from 2 weeks ago?
Oh, from 2 whole weeks ago. It was the Inhumans thing, right?
Yeah.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I actually did have someone who I thought had the coolest one. Let me find it real quick. It was whoever. Wait, no, didn't Sam? Sam did a Cabal challenge. That was the last one.
Why'd I have
I
Hyper
talked
in
about this
here?
already.
Okay, then sorry, Sam. You had the Sam. Who is your challenge of the week winner? Professional.
You guys didn't turn in your homework. Give me a second. I did have one that was a clear winner. I
Yeah,
just
there were
need
like
to
4
grab
lists
it.
for you, man. You gotta
I
think
know,
of
right?
cooler things.
There's
You gotta think of
4
cooler
people
challenges.
who care about Cabal.
And one of them was
Challenge of the week,
Ulysses.
there it is.
Because Ulysses changes one
Submissions.
character in his list, and it's like
It makes me laugh. I don't want him
the
to
same, literally the same list every single week with one change, like one character changes, and that's it. He doesn't change
It's
the
just his
have to
tactics.
flex
say is-
slots, yeah. He just
Hell yeah,
changes his
Professor.
flex slots.
Keep it coming.
Well, it's like
Yeah, it's
he
the
doesn't change the tactics either. Like yeah, this is an X-Men list, but you're not playing first
Yeah.
class for two of my X-Men. Yeah, because it's an X-Men list. It has Storm in it.
I'm not gonna lie. He probably would have won my vote this week if he had included Cosmic Invigoration in the tactics cards.
Damn,
would've been
look
like,
at that,
there it
Ulysses.
is.
You missed out, bud. You were so
My
close.
one card. I went with Vance with Cabal Bow Beam City. That looks fun to play.
Cool. All right. I think that covers it for announcements. Unless there's anything you guys want to hit.
No. Hi to all the new people who play it next gen now, because I've seen like 3 new people play since I've unfortunately been able to not come as much, which makes me sad. But I'm glad you guys are having fun.
Okay, let's go ahead and get into our main topic. As you could tell from the title, what is my purpose? Today we are going to be talking about understanding why you are breeding a character and why it's important to understand that. So let's talk about like role playing, I guess is a good way of describing it. What is your character's purpose? Something that Sam want to talk about. So I don't know if you want to go more in depth as far as like what we mean by this, other than just like role playing.
Well, I think that the best example that I used to have was in Criminal Syndicate, where before Shadowlands Daredevil spiced things up so much, like you basically picked your kind of core pieces. It was, for me, that was just Kingpin and Bullseye, and then I would pick people that I wanted to fit specific roles. So if I need someone to steal something, then I'd switch up into Black Cat. If I wanted a little bit of extra tankiness and I didn't worry about having bad dice for flip secures, then Hood was the next ad. And so that was like a 12 point, more or less core, but everybody in there kind of had a job. Kingpin was a point sitter, Black Cat was stealing something, Hood was going to make sure that Kingpin stayed alive, and Bullseye was going to spread around that splash damage and hopefully finish off a model or two. And so then that would be a 12 point core. Everybody's got a job to do. And then I'd have, somewhere between 2 and 8 points to spare into other things that were usually other role players, people that I needed to do a job. Usually that was Thanos.
I mean, I think Thanos is actually a really good person to talk about when it comes to this because Thanos has like 5 roles on his character card.
Well, no, he has 5 roles depending on what gems you stick on him. That's why he's cool because you can build your own adventure with Thanos.
He is the ultimate role player.
Yeah, he's the tech boy. Like this past weekend, I played Power Stone Thanos under Steve. It was super fun.
That sounds.
So I just wanted to Death Decree 3 times around and then have him run around.
All right, you
That's what
stop.
I did.
But I think Thanos is actually a really good one to talk about when it comes to this because it's like, why are you bringing Thanos? Like a lot of people say, oh, just slap Thanos in your list and it's instantly better. Well, like why? Like why?
So okay. So I want to publicize this because I realized this when I was looking at the TTS results. For all you folks who think you can just slap Thanos in a list, Thanos is the most losingest character in Top Cut of TTS, I think, literally ever. I'm not no hyperbole. He is every time he was played, almost he lost. He is the most losingest character, I think, in TTS Top Cut history. Besides someone like Enchantress, who is just present in literally every game. Most of the time when Thanos was played and the other team did not have a Thanos, I can think of one example where he actually won that game. So yeah, that's my spiel for the day. Thanos, the most losingest character of TTS Season 7.
I think it's all the TTS seasons, though, isn't it?
Yes. So stop calling him OP. These are butts.
Except Ulysses.
But maybe
Yeah,
this
Ulysses
whole,
won one.
maybe this whole conversation is like something that would help people understand why they should be putting Thanos in or why not be putting Thanos in. Because you got to understand what is he performing in your list, not just put Thanos in there and your list is instantly better. Like that's.
I mean, I'm memeing a little bit, but you are correct in that he has a couple different roles on his card. Yeah. He's tanky, he has control, and he boosts dice. Those are the 3 major parts of his card, right?
Okay, so let's put that on the mat then. What does he want to be doing? Is he just a double move, punch somebody, double move, cause a portal, single move, portal people around? What do you think is what people should be looking at to use his role?
Okay, so I'm actually doubling back on me memeing because it really does depend on his gems. If you're running Power Mind Thanos, you're displacing everyone and just running around. If you're running Space Reality, you're probably teleporting and punching people. If you're running Reality Time, you're punching one person really hard every round. He has multiple actions, and then the classic Mind Space, or I guess it's not really the classic, but the current staple, I guess you could call it, Mind Space, is you teleport for personal action economy. Maybe you punch someone, and then you run around and teleport people and Mind Stone people off of points. He's a combination of control and personal action economy is how I like to think about it.
Okay. So I think that's a great way of breaking it down. So if we were to answer the question is why are you bringing Thanos? Why is it important? How is he impacting your list specifically? If you're not playing Black Order, because he has to be there.
I think Thanos is a really bad example of a role player, personally.
Because there's too many things. Okay, fine.
Like we were saying, he's the gem guy. You can do too many things with him.
I'll concede.
Yeah, so he, when you're bringing Thanos, you are bringing him for a job. So I think that Space Reality Thanos is much more of a role player than some of the other builds. You're just gonna throw him down there and start punching stuff for the most part. He's a really fun character to play on the table, but he kind of does it all, and he should. He's an 8-threat character. So more than anything else, I think what Thanos is actually allowing your list to do is to run tall. It's letting you open it up, and you're going to run, probably 4, at lower point values. Even if you're traditionally a wide list, he's given you a tall option. So if we're going to talk about why did you bring this character and what do they enable you to do? I think number 1, he's going to let you run tall.
Yeah. Okay. I could buy that. I think also something to think about with it is, if you guys keep saying the gem loadout really changes. So it's if you're running Thanos with reality, he's going to be a beater at that point primarily.
Yes.
That's wasting reality if he's not doing that. If you're bringing space and mind, he's a control piece. If you're bringing
who also punches people, and then if you're doing power and let's say power mind, he's just a control monstrosity.
Yeah, he's just a control slash support piece in general. So it's like I think that's kind of like what I was getting at was classifying the different ways he specifies with the
I
gems.
think a good example of like very specific, like these characters do their thing. So if you want someone who does this thing, if we stick with the two threats, there's Toad and Nebula. They're completely opposite ends of the spectrum. One literally can't secure objectives or like pick shit up, but is really good at killing people.
Yeah.
The other one's not that great at killing people, but is one of the best objective runners in the game. So like if you need one of those two things in your list, they're super easy to slot in.
So maybe that should be like what we start with then instead of Thanos is the two threats, because the two threats are probably key examples of a specific role because they do one thing, they do it very, very well. That's just what they do. Like you said, Toad and Nebula. Toad's your extract machine. Nebula's a killer. Wong is like just pure support.
Healbot,
Power bot, just pure support. Does not do anything besides stand there and hold a point and support. What else you got? You got Okoye, who used to be a generalist, which is why she got changed. It's because she was a generalist, which I think they don't want two threats to be generalists. They want two threats to be that specific role, right?
and Okoye is still incredibly good.
Absolutely. I think she's being slept on. I think I heard it on another podcast too, that people just like, oh, Okoye is nervous, stop playing her. But she's still incredibly good. Like she still has
people,
a job.
that's just how people like. I played a lot of Inhumans recently, and Medusa's still a monster. And this has been said by pretty much every power game, board game player ever. But like people don't like to play shit that gets nerfed. Just because something gets nerfed and it's no longer like god tier doesn't mean it's not still good. Like Enchantress is I think the only character in the game with guaranteed bows every single turn. I guess Thanos, but he's twice her threat with a Mind Stone.
Yeah, because she's the only one that generates two, and then
Loki,
but Enchantress
Loki with
like
a Mind Stone.
Yeah.
Oh, Loki Mind, yeah, but like she's fourth threat. Like she's so good.
Right.
She single-handedly demolishes Fury Herbs, which is why I think Fury Herbs is just memeing and kind of being mean to your friends.
I think this just comes back to our bet that we have going on that I'm going to remind everybody about you eating a shoe is I don't think Fury is going to be as popular as you think he is, because the thing is he's had so much time to cool off. Like his rules were released like 2 months ago, if not more. 3 months ago now? So like people have been running it over and over and over again and finding out where he actually fits, where they're like, okay, I don't actually need Fury. He's not that scary. So come
in my
time,
defense, I have like no time to play on TTS anymore, so I may be over-exexaggerating things. I still think he's insane.
I still think you're going to be eating a shoe.
It's probably gonna happen. I just got new shoes, so I can eat my old ones. It's great.
Perfect.
Nice.
I would boil them first. It might increase the flavor.
What, boiled denim? Who are you?
I think Bullseye's kind of a generalist still.
You think so?
He kind of slotted in. I think so. He doesn't have tremendous output, but he has consistent output. He's got great range. He's got the hit and run ability and the automatic power gen, which is what I think actually enabled a lot of what Okoye used to do. And why she was so popular is just she's a two-threat character with automatic power gen and cool abilities to spend it on. And so like Bullseye's great at just picking that extract up and sitting on a point that's maybe not out of the way. Nobody really wants to come and get him. He's going to walk up, drop a range 4 shot, do 1 damage to somebody, and then walk right back onto his point.
Yeah,
So-
his hit and run stuff is so good.
So I guess would you call that a generalist, or would you call it just a crisis master? Because I
He's
wouldn't really call
generalist
him.
though, because you take him for damage too. Like,
But he's
great
not-
for
he's-
taking that 1 damage down.
But the thing is, like, so like if you talk about like if you say old Okoye was like the perfect example of a generalist. She's supporting the team with bodyguard. She's doing secures because of the power generation. She's also able to hold a crises. The one thing that Bullseye's missing from that is supporting the team. The only thing he brings is 1 auto damage, which sure can help the team, but that's not really a supporting role. So I would say
he's nowhere near as tanky as Okoye.
no. But I'm just trying to like give a nice like full-rounded picture if we're talking about that. I don't think I'd call him a generalist per se because he's not doing any type of like true support. I'd say he's probably just like the perfect like crises generally, not secures, not extracts, just crises. That's what he does for you. You bring Bullseye. What to do? He's gonna sit on a back point or sit on a side point and throw 1 damage every single round.
Yeah, that's really good though.
It is really good, but I wouldn't really
It's
call it
the range for it.
generalist. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
maybe not
auto power.
because he's doing a very specific thing. I think I see what you're saying.
yeah. So
So, I mean, just finding a way to differentiate him and Toad is kind of where I feel like Bullseye winds up being more of a generalist and Toad is more of a specialist.
yeah,
Because Toad
I
can't hurt
would.
people as much.
I
yeah, I mean,
can
Toad is a
agree.
crisis master, right? Like
I
he
tell you-
actually.
I will
Sorry,
say
go ahead.
Toad does damage. I don't know what you were talking about. I can't tell you how many times I have had a Toad one shot my characters, and it's the most infuriating thing ever.
That's just the fact that he's played so often that he gets the chance to one-shot your characters because he's like the most played too.
Yeah.
Toad is like, speaking of crisis masters, I think it's Toad. He's got a push of size 2, sure.
Yeah.
He's got an incinerate, which is less of what we're talking about here, but he like can grab from range 2, and he's hard to kill, and he sits on points, like, and he pushes people off of points. That's kind of like exactly what a scenario character wants, right? And he's like sort of kind of tanky with his 5 health.
Okay, so I'll say that
That's
too
slippery.
then. Like I'll buy it now. Well, Toad is the crises master, and Bullseye is a generalist. Because I think like the best thing we should probably do with like framing this episode is defining what the roles are, and I guess we're kind of doing that now. A little behind the ball, but if you look at the 2 threats, it's probably the best way to define these roles.
Well, the 2 threats is the only group we can do this because there are 412 3 threats.
There's only like 50, but still.
Oh, there's only like 50.
It's a long
What
episode.
about-
Hold in.
What about your Rocket Groot and your X-23 and Honey Badger? So they're kind of in a slightly different role
They're
to
kind
me.
of paired
because-
up, right? Like you
Yeah, I
can play
think-
them separately, but they're really good
Right.
together.
I mean, like Rocket easily is just like he's a blaster.
He is.
That's
Bullseye makes
pretty
him
much-
very sad.
Yeah, but it's like I just don't know like what else you would call Rocket other than a blaster. Like if
Yeah.
you
He
think
does
blaster,
blast.
yeah. If you say if I told you you're brand new to this game and someone asks what does Rocket do, and I say Rocket's a blaster, like you know instantly what he's doing. Like he's sitting far away and shooting you with his gun.
He's got a gun.
And then, but I do think it's a very interesting thing because, like, you think about Honey Badger, and Honey Badger by herself is really, really, really weird because I don't think she has a specific role per se. Like, out of all the 2 threats, she's not like this is, excuse me, her defined role.
Yeah, she's like super budget Luke Cage, right? She just gets in there and makes them sad and uncomfy with her -1 defense.
But the thing
And
about
maybe
it,
drops
though,
off Jonathan.
like
Yeah.
the biggest thing about it though is if you think about the other 2 threats, it's like their shtick or whatever you want to call it is guaranteed on that character. Honey Badger is not guaranteed to do those things.
Her taunt is. That's kind of the only thing you can really say,
Not-
though.
not
Like, she pulls
necessarily.
attacks off your big characters.
So the
I
thing is, though,
suppose like there are ways around it, yeah.
yeah, but like you have to actively like try to make Honey Badger like actually be able to do what she's, I guess, perceived supposed to be doing. Whereas Bullseye, I'm just going to naturally do this, and he's just gonna do what he wants. Okoye is just gonna naturally be where she needs to do her role. I think Honey Badger is like the exception here, to where you have to actively try and like consciously make the effort to do her role of if she's doing that taunting or applying incinerate. Like, I guess like her role is being annoying, and that's like, like
Yeah, she forces somebody to play around her or
Yeah.
to just chew through her, and
And
you know it's
that's
not
really
all that
good.
hard.
Like for
But-
a
but
two
what would-
threat to
what
force you
would
to pay
you-
attention, I like that.
but what would you call that? Like just annoying little
What is
fucker.
that, John?
I mean, you could literally call it, I don't know, an ankle biter.
Okay, we'll call it. All right, we'll call it ankle biter. But I think she's gonna be the only one in this category.
I mean, low key Nebula's kind of in that same category. She's better at killing people, but she also is like completely crisis agnostic, right? So it's on you to make her important on the table.
Yeah, and her output's not the same against somebody who's not on an objective. Like, and there
No,
are,
it's terrible.
yeah, it's always sad. It's like on Flip Secures, I was running Nebula with Flip Secures for a while, and it was like, oh wait, well, that's not fun. Like,
Yeah.
you just flipped that and walked away, and now I have to roll 4 unmodified dice into you. That's nowhere near as good as 4 reroll any.
We forgot about Widow.
I never
Because she
forget
has
about
stealth.
Widow is completely overshadowed by Toad in our current
She
meta,
is.
unfortunately.
Because that's what she's
Um,
supposed to be doing. She's supposed to be like a
Toad.
crises person, but Toad does it
Yeah.
so better. Like I don't care if Widow has a long movement with stealth. Yes, it's good. In affiliation, it's amazing.
Yeah,
But-
a martial artist.
Yeah, she's actually really defensive. Like she's great at holding extracts, but Toad's
Yeah,
better
the
at
4
scooping
Mystic
the
defense
extracts.
is great too.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the problem is like you can still do stuff where you move up and double tap her, whereas Toad, if you hit him once, he just dips. So like
Yeah.
there's
Right.
the counterplay to Toad is you throw something at him first and then just kill him. And that works with Widow too, but you also just don't have to do that with Widow.
Yep. Now you ran her in Avengers. I ran her with some Sam Avengers when I was trying to figure out how to play against Sam Avengers. And I really enjoyed her there. She was really fun to just kind of run her up onto some point where she could be annoying. And then, like, worst case scenario, she gets dazed and I get a leadership trigger.
Yeah, no, I do the same thing. I played her in LVO with Sam and Steve. I played her last weekend with Steve.
She's got a wild stagger. She's the only 2-threat with a stagger, right?
Yeah.
2 threats, yes.
And you can Thanos boost it to semi-guarantee it.
She's going to be injured.
Yeah, exactly. No, when I'm playing Steve Thanos, I'm telling you, it's Steve, Thanos, and Widow all day.
And Bucky.
Bucky, yeah, but Thanos Bucky literally slots into every list in the game, so that's not fair.
But why? What's the role?
What's the role? The role is 1 kills you and 1 makes your life annoying.
Trying to validate this conversation.
Oh, okay. We're still on 2 threats, right? What's Bob's role? Bob's role is being
I
the
forgot
coolest guy
Bob.
around.
Bob is there to
Oh,
give
man.
Black Order power.
No, he's so much more than that. He's so much more than that. Bob is so cool. You guys are nuts.
So
Bob
I
is great.
actually used to run Bob in X Force pretty much a year ago now because I took him to Nova and everybody's looking at me like you're crazy. Why do you have Bob? Because Bob was my answer to Sword. Because everybody's gonna be grouped up and you fire his rocket launcher into where everybody's grouped up. It's pretty good and he can play with extracts. Like he's a great looking model. Like Bob is the cool factor. There we go. That is Bob's role.
If you guys watched my Goofy tier list video, Bob was the highest rated 2 threat because he's the coolest one. There's no question.
I mean that's his role. But in all seriousness, so like I think he's definitely interesting. He doesn't die if you play him correctly, which can be pretty good for priority.
Yeah, I think he's really good with Sam. Like you just throw him up there, and you're always gonna be wider than your opponents. You're just getting
Yeah.
Sam triggers forever.
So maybe he's really just there to mess with slots and priority control. Is that a role? Is priority control a role now?
If there was a 2 threat who has that ability, it's Bob. Or I guess Okoye can also do it, but that's more on your opponent to allow.
This is some big brain Bob stuff. I was just like, hey, what if I put Dark Rain and Bob in the same roster? Sounds cool.
Ooh.
But I mean, if you think about it,
Re-roll
like
the rocket.
if you're bringing
Yeah.
Bob to certain things, a lot of times it's like priority control. Like you put him in Sam, that's what he's there for. You put him in Black Order, he's there for the power and something to sacrifice off to if you're taking sacrifice because you don't
He's
care.
the
if he's
jank.
hit.
Bob is the jank. He's the he's what you bring when you need something funky.
No,
He's the
Bob
puzzle
is the
piece.
southpaw. Y'all are
There you go.
downplaying him. He's the left-handed jab. He's not jank. Bob is good. He's just different. Just like a
Jank is
southpaw.
love. Jank is life.
So we can't just go through every single character in the game. I think going
No,
through
not
2
gonna work.
threats, going through 2 threats is good. But I think talking about this and framing it to like understanding these roles, like maybe we should talk about places where you should realize you need these roles. I'm trying to think like this is such a weird like conversation to have. It's kind of weird like how to like frame it in an episode. I tried doing like show
That's
notes
neat.
for this,
Yeah.
and I was just like I don't really know where to go with this one, but it's interesting to talk about nonetheless. Sam, how about
That's
you
cool.
take,
I mean-
take the show? Where do you want to go?
Well, all right. So if we kind of look at these 2 threats to establish the roles, right? You've got people that you're going to bring because you want them to do damage.
Yeah.
You've got people that you're going to bring because they're going to have good scenario game. You've got people that are going to have some kind of a wild card, right? So one of the things that we'd mentioned when we started talking about this like 2 weeks ago was that if you bring a character and they don't get to execute their job, then like you're doing something wrong, you're getting outplayed, something is going wrong in your game. If you brought Rocket to just blast away. You didn't bring Groot or anything else like that. You brought Rocket to just blast away, and then it turns out that you're firing into 4 and 5 dice energy with cover. Rocket's not going to have a very good game if people are staying outside of range 5. If they're able to just get him, if he is with Rocket, if they get him isolated and take him off the board, then like that's not what you brought Rocket there to do. If you brought Rocket and Groot, you brought Rocket and Groot to Deadly Duo and to be this kind of weird 5-threat character with 2 activations worth of actions. So I think that focusing on, if you brought a character to do a thing, how are you going to execute that on the table? If you brought characters to do a specific job, you got to make sure that they do that job, or you should have brought somebody else. Maybe
Well
a
said.
generalist.
well said. I don't know how to I don't know how to. Hyper Viper, you got anything you want to say? I just don't know how to add to that though. It's pretty much like the whole.
That was a very concise thought, honestly.
Yeah.
Seems like
Every
Oh
now
wait,
and
wait,
then.
wait. I got this. I got you.
All right.
And on that note, I have to go now. So bye.
All right.
Remember.
Bye, Hyper.
All right, take care. I hope the rest of the episode isn't terribly awkward. I lay a curse down on you guys to be terribly awkward. May that clap emoji go off 37 more times.
You gotta.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, you want that too? Okay.
Uh-oh. All right. There we go. My camera's messed up now with
Oh.
the
Oh, no.
departure of Hyper Viper. I am back to being a wide camera, and I am like half on the screen, half. You can see my
Okay,
microphone.
okay.
It looks good too. Look at that microphone.
All right. Hyper Viper just messing things up. Oop. Just mean I gotta delete Thanos' face from the top of this because Hyper Viper is.
Nah. If anything, you could just keep it hovering over mine like that.
There we go.
It's my little Thanos on my shoulder.
All right. All right. Sorry about that. He had to go take care of some things, but the show must go on. We're gonna finish this
That's
one
right.
out. So where were we? You just gave a really good description of this whole entire topic in 5 seconds. But
And scene.
end scene. All right. So moving on. Sales pitch of the week. No.
So okay, I mean let's drill down on that then, right?
Yeah.
So if you've got 3-threat characters, you got 4-threat characters, 5-threat characters, and 6+, right? Nothing really changes. I think that when you're bringing an 8-threat character, you want them to be doing some work, which is kind of the difference between Dormammu and Thanos, right? Because
So I have
dice for everything he does.
I have an interruption then. So if we're looking at this,
Yeah.
what is the difference then between a 3-threat control piece and a 5-threat control piece? So why am I not taking just 2 or a 6-threat control piece? Let's say 6-threat versus 3-threat. They're both doing control. Why don't I just bring 2 3-threats that do control instead of 1 6-threat and every list is just wide? Why isn't that a thing?
I think to some extent it is. But
All right, I will leave now. I see my way out.
I think that's definitely one of the the biggest decision points in roster construction for this game and for strategy too, because that's what, right? So let's say I need to get some displacement on the board, right? Lizard's a great 3 for displacement.
Yeah.
His throw's not online turn 1
So
without a
let's
lot
say-
of extra effort. But
Let's say lizard, and is there another size or a 3-threat that has a size 3+ displacement? I've been liking Gambit a lot. I've been liking Gambit a lot lately, but he is size 3. Okay, yeah. Gambit and
Lizard
Lizard.
displacement.
Yeah, Gambit and Lizard. So why wouldn't I take Gambit and Lizard over a gemless Thanos?
Because
He's-
Gemless
he's-
Thanos doesn't make enough power. He's sad.
So in this situation, you would. Okay, so let's think about who's a 6-threat that is brought for displacements. Hulk. Okay, so Hulk's a big one currently. So between Gambit and Lizard, who both equal up to it, you have more health than Hulk has. You have arguably more defense than Hulk has. You have healing factor on Lizard and invulnerability. So why would I not take 2 3-threats instead of Hulk?
Well, Hulk's a battleship. Hulk's going to be on the board until Hulk is gone. Meanwhile, your Lizard's probably not getting one shot, but Gambit's going to get flipped in a single shot from time to time. So
I think it's activation
Go.
economy. I think it's like the
Yeah.
value of a Hulk activation is worth more than having to go Lizard break, Gambit break.
Right.
So it's like being able to do everything that Hulk can do within his activation is what makes him that 6 threat difference. That makes it worth taking 1 6 threat over two threes. I think that comes into a line of thought of like where the design space is with the game is they have to make these 6 threats and these 5 threats be different than like I would rather take Gambit and Lizard over Hulk. So like that's something that needs to be taken into consideration is like where is my action economy going or my activation economy. I don't even know how to word it because it's not really activation economy, it's activation efficiency. There's the word.
Yeah, I'm way more concerned with Hulk activating first at the start of the next round than I am with Gambit or Lizard activating first at the start of the next round. I'm also way more concerned with Hulk activating last in that round than either of them, because he's got so many. Even though he doesn't necessarily have as much displacement as the two of them put together, right? Because Gambit's gonna, in theory, be able to push 2 different models off of points. Lizard's gonna roll up and throw somebody else off. That's 3. In order to do that, Hulk's got to get, both. Lizard could do what, 5 if he gets the wild push and everything else, right?
If
so like,
Lizard,
3, so it'd be 5.
he also has
total
Monkey
between
Brain.
the two of them.
And if you bring in Monkey
right.
Brain,
Back
then
to
he could have a whole entire team push if you've had Monkey Brain perfectly set up.
Mm-hmm.
So like he could have more, but then Hulk is still looked at as more threatening. But maybe because I'm trying to think like how to explain this because like you start thinking about this and it's like why am I not just playing Lizard and Gambit over Hulk?
Because Hulk's gonna like hopefully murder like a model or 2 during his activation
before he goes out.
And I mean, he rolls a lot of dice. I don't think that you play Crisis Protocol because you don't like rolling dice. At least to some extent. Like maybe you want to even them out, or you want to, make your dice more functional. But
I mean, Gambit can roll
dice and see
Gambit can roll 7 dice with if you pay 3 power.
Yeah, right. Okay, but Hulk's got 3 power every turn. Period. No matter what.
I think it just comes back to
Gambit's gotta work for
that.
it.
I think it just comes back to that activation efficiency. Like he just has
so.
so much that he can be doing during his turn, and that's what really sets the 6 threat part. But is there a time where you're going to be wanting to, like, if we're talking like rolls, like it's the same roll. I'm looking for a somewhat control piece and a somewhat damage piece, which Gambit and Lizard is. I wouldn't say Lizard so much damage as control and crises, but Gambit's the half of the damage in my opinion. And then Hulk is just all of the above. But I think it comes down to your crises selection or crises matchup, whatever is going on between your secures and crises and extracts for the specific game. Comes down to, do I want 2 3s or do I want 1 6? Because it doesn't really necessarily matter about threat value because it's the same threat. It's kind of funny you start thinking about this, and it's something you do actively when you're like building a roster or building your squad for a game. You're actively like, do I want Hulk or do I want Gambit? And this, putting like thought behind it and actually talking through it is rather interesting.
I definitely want them both on my roster whenever I can. Like that, Lizard's great, Hulk's great. I don't have as many reps with Gambit as I'd like to, but he's been fun every time I put him on the table.
I'm telling you, I've been playing a lot of Gambit lately. And I retract anything negative I ever said about him. He's great. I when he first came out, I was like, oh, he's okay. He's not terrible, but he's okay. I might have said like, I wish he had this, and this. I probably said he's not what I expected. Yeah. But playing him, I'm like, he's perfectly fine for a 3 threat. He does his job. He's literally every single game you can expect him to be doing some pushes. You can expect him to do some damage, and then occasionally he's gonna pop off and kill 3 people on 1 turn. Like, yeah, he's insane. I love him.
That's great. I mean, with all these dicey characters where they just got to roll dice and hope that stuff happens, I think that Gambit's in a good place because he also has control elements to his kit. He does have a little bit of survivability or defensive tech because he can hopefully run away and not get double tapped, or at least like retreat to a place where he's got cover. I think he's a very interesting model, and if he hasn't gotten 1 shot, I've had really good games with him.
Yeah. All right. So that was your tangent. That was your tangent of the episode. Let's get back to
a tangent.
Oh man. But I definitely think it's something interesting to look at because it's like you look at 3 threats because they're the widest threat value of the game.
Yeah.
by a long shot. And I think the argument of 2 3s versus a 6 is definitely something to consider when you're building your squad. And I think it really just comes down to what is the crisis setup. If I'm playing, let's say, Gamma, I probably want... See, that's weird, because I actually, on Gamma, I think I would actually want Gambit and Lizard versus a Hulk. Hulk is good on Gamma, but it gives me more displacement to potentially gain more VPs, and Gambit is great on Gamma. And...
So is Monkey Brain.
Yeah, so is Monkey Brain. Yeah, so I'd argue that those two actually are probably better. And also, you're probably looking for 3s over a 6. So actually, you're probably looking for a 6 over 3s, because 1 slot versus 2. Like if you're X-Men, the Gambit helps a lot for affiliation, but that's another thing to consider too.
So does Hulk's big old base, but
yeah. I don't know. It's difficult. It's definitely an interesting conversation. Like to think about.
Yeah.
The threat values, like why don't I just take 2 2s when 2 2s instead of 1 4? And it's just like, why don't people just play more wide instead of going tall? Because tall, is it really just activation efficiency, or is there more to it than that?
I think the efficiency is something to it. I also think that that's part of the fun mind game that you get to have in turn 0 or in roster construction, depending on how you tuned up, right? So, I mean, if you've got options to go between 3 and 5 wide at any given, threat value, like that's a kind of a mind bender. Like, that's roster chicken, even if it's all the same affiliation or something like that. Like, you're just how skinny am I going to go? How wide am I going to go? What do we have going on here?
Yeah.
So I think that being able to keep and maintain priority, if you're trying to run an attrition plan, I think that you need role players to help you keep priority. It's not just tactics. And if you're trying to run more of a control game, then yeah, I think you maybe Hulk isn't the right answer. Maybe you do want Lizard and Gambit or
whoever, whatever you're doing
else
for that. All right, so where's another direction we can go with this? 'Cause I think it's definitely, we just uncovered like a 20-minute tangent bit with just random rambling. I'm sure this isn't the best. It's not awkward at all. No, I honestly enjoyed that little bit there. That was an interesting thought experiment. I will say, side tangent number 2 of the episode.
Yes.
I have been trying this whole 14, 15, 16. Just whenever I build a list now, it's literally how I start building lists, and most of the time, I end up leaving the list with only 14, 15, 16. And maybe I might change out 1 or 2 of the crises, but it's been very, very interesting and changed my roster construction. Like my Black Order list actually runs like 14, 15, 117, a 16, and then 19 for demons. Like it's mostly low threads, which is actually very weird for Black Order. But I would highly implore people to I think it was our last episode. We talked about that? I think so.
Maybe the one before that. Yeah, one of them. It's been so long now.
If you haven't listened to that episode, go listen to all of our other episodes and find it, because I don't know what it is off the top of my head.
Dig deep. Find the time.
I mean, there's only 7. It's not that hard.
Not yet.
But I definitely think it's actually an interesting conversation and thought process to go look about when you're building crises, is to go start with 14, 15, 16, see if you can actually run them and build from there. Because now I'm running X-Force with Mystique Brotherhood, and it feels really good. But anyways, rolls. Let's
X-Force that's important though, right? Because that's the X-Force.
So I'm running to make threat values, because X-Force, if you look at X-Force, let's say A-Force, Defenders probably can get away with it a little bit more than anybody else. Asgard is, you need to bring
Inhumans.
Basically Inhumans. There's actually quite a bit. Almost, I wouldn't say call it a roll though, because you're just basically sidestepping, like either going leaderless or going completely unaffiliated, or bringing a secondary affiliation to hit those low threats. I've found it to be really good with Mystique, because even though there's no crossover really between, except for Sabretooth, but I'm not even playing Sabretooth. But the characters I like playing with X-Force are Brotherhood, so that's why I threw Mystique in there. And she's really good at the low threats, and I can run wider. But it's definitely interesting to look at in that aspect. It's like the role of just making threat. I keep saying roll.
I think
Yeah.
yeah, bringing the game down to lower point values, I think, means that there's less to manage on the table.
Yeah.
Which means if you're trying to push like a more attrition style game plan, you've got fewer targets. You've also got fewer models to come and clap back at you when you're doing when you're doing the Lord's work of removing models from the table.
So I think that's where the 3 wide 14 black order actually does good. Like I keep telling people, like, hey, I ran 3 wide Corvus, Peace, Swan, and Dwarf, and it was amazing. And they look at me like I'm nuts. Like, you ran that on Sword and won. I was like, yes, I very consistently actually, because like you said, there's less to worry about, and I think this comes back to your activation efficiency, because Corvus is extremely efficient with his activation. Swan is extremely efficient with her activation. And then with Black Onslaught, it makes Dwarf extremely efficient with his activation. Because you're getting him up there to actually be able to do something. So you have 3 heavy hitters, like, literally going against people who are typically 2 threat less. So they should be outperforming them. And lasting longer. So it's definitely interesting to think about. Like, never in a world that I think I'd want to play 3 wide on Sword. Like, never. But I implore people to try it. And I think it comes down to that role of, like, recognizing, like, I can abuse the ability to kill things with this list where my opponent's not going to be able to, like, take the hits where they normally could at higher threats. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that is a place where Black Order has always excelled, is in taking down kind of cheap models. I mean, I feel like Sword has fallen out, especially 14 Sword has fallen out of favor so far with everybody that it's really easy to forget that if you're playing 14 Sword and you think that being 5 wide is the answer on Sword, that means that you either need a 3-threat leader or you are unaffiliated if you want to run 4 3-threats and a single 2. If you want to run a 4-threat in your roster, you've got to run 2 2-threats to get that to fit at 5 wide. And that is a lot of squishy pieces for a 3 wide roster. And Sword is such a priority.
So to tie this into roles,
yeah,
because that's the episode.
Yeah, right.
Is understanding what roles you need for specific things, like that 14. Like, do I want the roles of control? Because I think that's something that people look at for Sword a lot, is they want control pieces. Same thing for researchers. I think control, because I want to control researcher, so I'm going to push you off of this point. Gamma, I think, is similar. I think those like probably the biggest ones when it comes to I want control pieces. Not necessarily people thinking kill pieces, which is kind of interesting, because if you just shake it up and say, I'm going to go completely kill on Sword, and you're just not going to be able to score anything, and your control pieces don't matter because your characters are dead. So I think that's definitely something like worth looking at too, with this whole mindset of understanding the roles of your characters, is what do you need for the crisis at hand, instead of, can't think of the word now. But yeah, yeah.
So that's great. Yeah. So like, if you're going to bring control pieces into a roster that you think is going to be trying to wipe out your team or get a massive attrition advantage over the first few turns, what do you want your control pieces to do on the table? Because you can't really put them in harm's way, otherwise they're probably going to get erased.
Yeah.
And you definitely want them to be around into the later turns of the game. So you've got to have an idea for both the pieces that you're bringing, the job that they're going to have on the table, and then how you're going to keep them in position. So maybe that's another role player you got to bring in. If you're bringing in a Luke Cage, or you're bringing in a bodyguard of some sort to keep somebody more important alive and get them into the end game so that they can still be contributing. And I mean, Sword specifically, because it so often just comes down to a single die roll at some point on a pivotal turn to see who's going to get that push. If you've got control pieces and you've got access to that push, you can really make a model uncomfortable if they haven't had impeccable placement with all of their models, and you weren't able to unwind that in some way. Even a Black Dwarf that's getting 2 attacks on turn 1, if a Chantress walks up to him and walks him away short, and then he gets short pushed somewhere else, right? Even if you built everybody to bump into each other instead of getting pushed away.
Yeah.
If he's getting bowed off a point, then and pushed, he's back to being Black Dwarf, the old Black Dwarf that we know and love that can't get his butt into the fight.
So, I just think it's super interesting to look at is maybe Sword should be looked at more as like bringing kill pieces instead of just control. Like maybe bring one control piece to get rid of your opponent's egregious model, and then everything else you bring kill. So that way, like just bring straight murderers. like
Yeah.
Just because you only need one control piece really to get rid of. Like, so at 14, they're only really bringing one egregious model at most. Like,
Yeah, so,
unless you're Black
14
Order.
teams, right? Black Order is going to bring 3 egregious models, or at least 2.5. Guardians of the Galaxy at 14 is very strong, right?
Yeah.
You've got a Rocket and Groot, Star-Lord,
And a Hulk.
plus a Hulk, right? So that is, you've got good range. You don't really have much control outside of Hulk, right? So I mean, target priority is another item to start looking at here, right? So if you're going to bring 3 wide Black Order into a 4 wide Guardians, what are you looking to do, right? Because like Corvus has no control.
Yep.
Dwarf needs to land some hits on something or take a bunch of damage before he's got control. And Power Swan, P-Swan, which I love the name of. P-Swan's going to come in, and she's got lots of options, right?
Yeah.
But she doesn't have consistent damage, and to some extent, neither does Dwarf. So you're leaning on Corvus really hard to hopefully kind of even out the action economy. But then, like, what does your target priority look like going into that kind of a Guardians roster?
So I think it's 100% get rid of Rocket, because Deadly Duo is going to be the bane of you more than Hulk is. Because you only have 3 characters, and they're more than likely going to be in range of a Rocket. So between Mothership and Black Onslaught, like, you should be able to pull off Mothership to attack Rocket. And if not, then that means that their Rocket's way out of position and not do anything for your opponent. Second is, because like, you're going to have priority 2, so round 1, you should be able to daze Rocket unless things just absolutely don't go your way. And then round 2, you just kill Rocket, and then Deadly Duo is off the table. If you can pull that off, then I think you're sitting in a much better spot. Sure, you still have a Hulk to deal with, but you have P-Swan and Corvus to go into Hulk, which is not the worst thing for you. The other thing to think about is Dwarf can actually throw Hulk. So it's like, I think a lot of it comes down to, though, is like realizing that you're not. I think that's the other thing too that is kind of off topic with the same topic, is realizing when like the scenario is completely out of the question for you. I think if you're running like that 3 wide Black Order, you don't give a crap about scenario, except for maybe like one extract. You are literally all in on kill. I think that's something to realize with like the role players you're picking. You're picking Dwarf, P-Swan, and Corvus. Like, you don't have time to grab a scenario. Your time needs to be spent being aggressive and killing, because there's no way you're winning. There's no way you're winning Sword, especially into that Guardians list. So where do you gain your money? You gain your money by taking out models and winning that attrition race as fast as possible. So my game plan in that scenario, because I've thought about this quite a bit, we talked about it, is like Rocket, then Hulk. Because I think this kind of comes back to the whole activation efficiency thing that we were mentioning earlier, is like, if you want to mention target prioritization, if you think about whatever game you're playing, every single game, you think of, who do I need to take out? It's always whoever has the best activation economy.
Yeah.
Because that's how I think about it. I think of who has the most potential to do what to me this turn. And that's definitely a turn by turn thing, and not like this game, my target priority is going to be this, and then this. It changes from round to round of who can do what, because the power, like their resources change, positioning changes, all that stuff. So target prioritization, I would say, like, it's understanding the roles of what that character is meaning to do and their action efficiency of what they're going to be able to do that round. And this episode is all over the table.
No, that's good though, because now we're talking about how to take down somebody's role players, right? Identifying the role players on your opponent's team is just as important as making sure that your role players get to do what you want them to, right? So you're talking about bringing 3 wide Black Order at 14, and you're bringing 3 role players. Your role players are trying to murder everything.
Yeah.
And we're looking at another team that's also, excellent at
Murder ball. The murder.
So you are leveraging your advantage, which is priority, into their team, and you're identifying the role players that have the most potential to upset your game plan. So that's on point.
Okay.
Put a pin in it.
Put a pin in it. I think we might have discussed this enough. What do you think? Think we can? I don't know. Do you think, is there any last closing thoughts on understanding roles? What is my purpose?
Any questions from the chat?
Any questions about this super vague topic? It's super. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I thought this would be easier to talk about, but man, this is like an extremely hard topic to like nail down. You can understand roles and what characters are doing, but like actually talking about this in a podcast format without like, I guess, insulting people's intelligence is the hardest thing to do, because you don't want to be like, you guys are idiots. You don't know what you're talking about, or like dumbing it down to where it's like talking to a little kid. But it's just super. It's I don't think you guys understand like how difficult it is to like talk about this without like while making it meaningful. Like I feel rough about this one. Anyways,
so let's go. Let's instead of doing a closing thought on this, who's your favorite role player to bring, and what role are you bringing them to do?
Lately it's actually been Gambit. Because I've been playing a lot of X-Men, X-Force. I actually don't mind him in Brotherhood either, to be honest. Gambit's actually really good everywhere. I will say it here and I'll say it again. Because he does what he does wherever he is. So I think he's actually a good example of a role player, because he's got mild control with average to super high potential damage. Because if you get the dice rolling on that 52 pickup turn and you have a really good beam set up, I have seen Gambit daze/KO 3 to 4 models in one round. There's not many characters that can actually do that. Like there really isn't. Like, if people are weakened, then sure, 23 can, or Carnage could. Like there's stuff out there, but he's a 3 threat doing this, and it happens quite a bit actually. Like, I've talked to Sooner too. Sooner has a very similar experience with Gambit, to where he'll just pop a 52 pickup and their whole entire team's dead. It's just like, wow. But when I talk about like what you always know what you get with Gambit is you're almost, I would say probably 98% guaranteed a push, because if you're not getting the wild, you probably have a hit in your dice rolls, and you probably have a power to turn it into a wild. And it's a size 3 push, which covers almost all the characters except for the few size 4s. Yeah.
Size 3 is great.
So he's great on scenario play because he's got mild control. And he's just got decent damage, especially like grouped up damage. He's got great AoE effects because he gets that explosive going. And he's got 52 pickup. He's also, like, people say he's not very defensive, but his hop back and do a damage is way better than people give it credit for. Like, he's not getting one shot. Mm-hmm. That's like, at the very least, he's not getting one shot. Because the thing is it's the trigger for it is after the attack is resolved, or after the attack is resolved. So whatever power you get from the attack can be spent on the ability. So if you're like easily just get out of dodge. So that's why I like Gambit so much lately, is he's fairly generalist, because he's doing control, he's doing damage, and he's just not supportive. He's just not a team support. That's the one thing. Unless you're bringing Dark Past, then he's there he is. You bring Dark Past, and Gambit is now the 3-threat
support
generalist.
too.
There you go.
Nice.
But I think that's why I've been playing him so much lately, is because, one, I love the character, I love the sculpt, and two, he's just doing all those things for me, and it's very consistent. It's not like, oh, one game Gambit did this, and then the next game he did this. It's Gambit goes to a point, he pushes people off, he throws cards, does a little bit of damage, and then he has one turn where he just blows the world up.
Nice.
That's what Gambit does. So, what about you? What would you say is like something you would say?
So I've been playing a lot of Convocation lately, and Scarlet Witch has been my role player of choice. So she's 5 threat, so I'm bringing her to... I have a 12-point core that I've been running with Convocation that's Strange and Voodoo, and usually Magic, sometimes Mordo. And I'm bringing Scarlet Witch when I am trying to get some work done against taller models. And so her extra face on the die with the skull on top of the plane of Poldock, so you're getting rerolls on better dice, I love being able to, and her range 4. So I'm walking up towards the end of round 1 and just trying to kind of find a target, lay some dice into it, and then hopefully start off the next turn after she maybe doesn't take any damage because she's just the last activation or second to last activation on the table. So I'm bringing her to do damage. It's all she does, but I'm specifically bringing her for taller model control because all of those skulls are going to drop status effects, and then the good, better than average dice with the extra face, and then the judgment ability to keep their power down, and then the no more mutants ability, where almost every tall centerpiece model has a power that they're either going to try to use more than once a turn, or losing that is really hard. So like Hulk with a gamma leap, if you can shut down a gamma leap, it feels pretty bad. It's like staggering Hulk. Yeah. And if you can turn off the Thanos portal or a Magneto whirlwind when the throw starts, just stop it in its tracks. It's a game changer against those rosters.
Absolutely. All right, I think that's a good wrap up of what that was. It's fun. I enjoyed the conversation. I won't lie, it was awkward, but let's stop acknowledging it, Dylan. I'll stop acknowledging it. All right, Sam. The sales pitch of the week was going to be Hyper Viper, but he is gone now. So
snap!
I mean, if you don't want to do it, I have one. I have one that I was gonna wait until I did mine, but I have one on deck.
Well, I just talked about Scarlet Witch. Let's talk about.
Episode,
yeah, we're not going to do that. No, let's talk about Sexy Strange. People say that there's a correct Strange, and they say that it's OG Strange. He's got all that control. He's got the heals. he's got the good stuff going on. But Sorcerer Supreme Strange, Sexy Strange, has so many options. He is so incredibly mobile on the table. He powers up so fast. If you're running him in Convocation, he has such great synergy with all of the Convocation cards. Yeah. And his area of effect spender is so fun. It's so expensive, and I've rarely used it. But when you can pull that thing off and remove 3 or 4 statuses and heal 3 or 4 damage from multiple members of your team, it is such a great feeling. And he's got a range 5 attack where you get to choose what type of attack it is. That can be so powerful. At range 5, he's pretty well protected. And there are also times where all you're going to do with Strange is double move and make somebody go away. So or you can... Yeah, go shoot.
I was going to say, like, I used to play Strange a lot. I used to say, hey, you're playing X-Force, play Sexy Strange. I think he's great. Like, he's definitely super interesting. I think this will be a super fun one. Yes.
I would say if Thanos gets hit by anything, I think that Sexy Strange becomes the most frustrating piece in the game.
That's what I was going to say.
He'll take that mantle.
You're not wrong. I was going to say his spinner. I never had any success with his spinner. Every time I did it, it was just a complete waste. And I was like, I'm so sad now. I should have just billed her twice. Right. Daggers. Like, it's so upsetting. All right.
The reroll all is so good. Perfect knowledge reroll all. I'll take it.
Guns wants a Sexy Strange list. All right. There we go. All right, so Sexy Strange for this week. Hobby Corner. I guess we could hit up Accountability Club for the first time. So if anybody did not know, we've been running the Accountability Club for the last month. If you'd like to sign up for the Accountability Club, you can go to our Discord in the rules. Is that where it's at? Server rules and information. There is a little thing in there, which I probably should redo it so it's easier to find. It's called Accountability Club. It's got a little Punisher icon. You just click on the React, and it'll put you into the Accountability Club. And it's where you say your goals. We decided today, or I guess it's been decided, but people did not know that when you say your goals and then add stretch goals, that's still a goal for the month, to where you'll be held accountable and where we will publicly shame you on the podcast. So, Sam, are you ready with the shame list?
I am. Do we have a bell on our soundboard?
Does that work for you?
That'll work for me. All right. Barn Cat, shame. I know you painted Groot, but You didn't put any models. You didn't put any pics up of other models you were supposed to have painted for an LVOIS. You said you were going to put paint on them. I didn't care what it was. I just wanted to see a picture of something. Boots, man, you did a great job, but you're getting shamed because you didn't do any core box touch up. You said you were going to do core box touch up. You didn't do core box touch up.
Touche.
Dizzard.
What?
Dizzard. No super glue pics.
So
Shame.
I thought about that. I thought that like I literally have it right here.
All right, shame rescinded.
But it's like I thought about it. I'm like, there's no way he wants an actual picture of my super glue.
Oh yes, yes I do. Stated goals. All right, Jimmy DeHand, no magic or lockjaw. Shame. Thoris, I had such high hopes for you. You were the first post. It was beautiful. I want to see that beast done. I hope you resubmit it for your June goal, but you didn't do anything. So shame for Thoris.
To be fair,
Shame for Kenny G.
To be fair, Thoris put up a really interesting landscaping project.
He did. It's true. It's true. I guess priorities. I'd probably have to do that too. So that's the shame list. May was a pretty light list because you didn't have to submit a goal because we put it in halfway through the month.
But it's still fun to shame.
It is. It's still fun to shame. There will be a slight change to the submission processes just to make sure that everybody's on the same page about it. It was a huge pain in the butt to go through and find everybody's goals and tie them to their submissions in the end. So we're going to clean that up a little bit. Watch out for the update. Obviously, it'll get posted in the Discord. But good job to everybody who didn't get shamed. You did good enough. Shadow Marvel, I don't know if I'm going to let you do an or again. It's a little sketch. But no shame for you this week, just to call out.
What's your June goal?
My June goal?
Yeah.
I'm gonna finish that Slapchop, Daredevil, and Ninjas.
There you go.
I didn't actually submit a goal for May. I was gonna just work on that and put it out there, but so far I have not had a good experience with my contrast paints over the Slapchop, dry brush.
Fair.
It's weird.
I got
blame myself.
I got Gambit and Rogue put together, Ghost Rider,
Nice.
Blade, and Moon Knight. I had Wong on there too, but I guess I already put Wong together because he's not in his box anymore on a sprue, and I don't know where he is. So maybe I should change it to Find Wong.
Yeah. Oh, my June goal is going to be Black Swan Supergiant, presumably, barring like shipping delays or a storm.
Yeah, I figured I wasn't gonna put that on there just because of Justin Casey's. But I have no idea what happened
I'll
to
take
my
the
Wong.
shame. I'll take the shame. I'll shame my local store.
I literally have no idea what happened to my Wong because like
Oh no.
like he's not in his box and I don't remember putting him together. So I have no idea where Wong went to. My desk's an absolute mess right now though, so that probably helped me cleaning it up. Isn't this nice though? Thank you patrons, because we have not had to do an intermission to change lobbies once. This is so much nicer. All right. So yeah, for me, Gambit and Rogue, that's the big painting goals, and then putting some things together. I'm excited. I got some ideas for Gambit that I can't wait to try out. So, oh, you have sales pitch of the week. I have challenge of the week. So give us a sales pitch on Strange.
That's what I did.
No, you oh my goodness. I'm wrong. I have challenge. I'm an idiot. I'm sorry, Kenny. If you ever listen to this, you should go to the challenge of the week channel. Look at Kenny's super excited. All right, challenge of the week. We're gonna do a Sinister with cloning banks. You don't have to have force extraction, but you have to have cloning banks. So Sinister with cloning banks, and you cannot have a single 2-threat in your list. Yeah.
Sinister with cloning banks, no 2-threat.
Sinister with cloning banks. Oh, you got it typed. Okay, you got it.
Yeah.
All right, it'll be a fun one. I'm really excited about this. I've been actually trying to toy with Sinister to get him to fit somewhere with cloning banks and make it work. I told Hyper Viper this earlier because he told me I think he was one that had challenge for the week. Yeah, I don't remember now. It's deleted. And he said, I told him I want to do Sinister with cloning banks, and he said you have to make it with no 2 threats. I'm like, I like it. Let's do it.
Nice.
So yeah, you guys can think high five for that. All right, so let's go on
In
and move
memoriam.
in memoriam. He's gonna enjoy that leather shoe when it comes time. All right, let's move on to let's move on to listener questions. I told you guys that we'd hit these listener questions, and here we are with it. All right, from Sooner, and also anybody here in the Twitch chat, if you have any questions you want to add to the list, go ahead and put them in there. We got time, nothing but time. Excuse me. Oh, that Chinese food. Professional. All right. Sooner, can we comfortably say Defenders are going to win next season in TTS League? Why do you guys think that is? I'm going to say real quick, we can't comfortably say anybody's going to win the TTS League because everybody is wild and they are so unpredictable of what's actually going to happen throughout the entire league. I think that's the best way to put it. What do you guys? What do you got?
If Defenders win the next TTS League without any new models, it's going to be on Sooner's fucking broad back.
He has been, I mean, or Kenny. Kenny's been smashing Defenders for a long time. So it'd be cool to see Defenders get in there, but Sooner and Kenny both have been like just crushing Defenders games. So yeah. All right. Matomatic, which of Wolverine's tactics cards are most impactful? So I think this is a loaded question because a lot of people consider certain cards to be Wolverine's cards. Wolverine only has Fastball Special and Weapon X. So out of those two cards, Fastball.
Wolverines?
Oh, I guess Wolverines too. Yeah, Wolverines. Out of those three cards, Wolverines is probably the most impactful, I would say, because it ramps up his damage. If you're doing best at what I do and you have Wolverines up, you're probably going to be killing whatever it is you're hitting. Yeah, it's reroll. You're not guaranteed to get a bunch of wilds off it, but your chances are so much higher. I think I've popped off like a good 12 die damage off of a best of what I do attack because of Wolverines. Yeah. It was stupid good. I would say Wolverines is his most impactful tactics card. Would you agree?
So I can't say no matter the cost?
No, because it's not a Wolverine tactics card. Okay, wait, let's do that next.
Right.
Let's do the Wolverine specific ones, and then we can do which ones Wolverine likes the most.
I really like Fastball Special.
I do too.
For Wolverine. I think that makes him immediately relevant. It does require that you're bringing Colossus. I like Wolverines, but it also means you're bringing X-23. So maybe I just take a cop-out answer and say Weapon X is Wolverine's most impactful tax card because it's the only one that he can play all by his lonesome.
Yeah,
and just do something with it.
That is the only one he can play by his lonesome.
Climbing gear just for Wolverine. That sometimes hits stuff.
Okay, so now out of any tactics card, because I would say Exceptional Healing would be the most impactful because it's Exceptional Healing.
Exceptional Healing is great.
Yeah, that is probably his most impactful, truthfully. But it doesn't specifically say Wolverine on it, so I wouldn't count that. But I would say out of all the cards Wolverine is known to use, I would say Exceptional Healing is the most impactful.
I'll go with no matter the cost.
Yeah.
I really like no matter the cost with Wolverine. You take that 3 damage on him, he's going to only net 1 out of the deal, and unless the dice betray you, he's going to be able to reposition himself and another model on the board.
Yeah, it's super good. All right, Grunko, with NashCon coming up fast, what do we think is going to be the surprise affiliation to do well?
This use the test to take the test. So Defenders.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Sooner is going to NashCon. So, I'm just gonna stick to my guns. Say, but see, this is such a weird thing because you say surprise affiliation. If I'm assuming it, then is it really a surprise affiliation?
I'm not surprised.
I think X-Men are probably going to do really well at NashCon. They've been just having a really good spot in the meta, I think, currently. So I could see X-Men. Yeah, I think X-Men could do exceptionally well. Haha. at NashCon.
Nice. I'm gonna go with Asgard. I think
because of new releases. Yeah,
new releases. The time that I spent playing Asgard, my biggest takeaway was that they need a couple of, I call them modern pieces at the time. So Thor's pretty early in the game, and Valkyrie, especially after her nerf, she's kind of an earlier piece now with her more expensive stuff. Enchantress is good, but she also got touched by the Nerf wand, and so she doesn't have all the same game breaking action economy that she used to. So they've got good pieces. They need a little bit of dice fixing, and they need a couple of tricks. And I think that Executioner and Hemdall might just be the fix.
That's fair. Moving directly into the next question. We'll skip that one because I have to now. B-Terra game. What are your initial thoughts on Heimdall and Scourge models? What do you hope they do for the game in Asgard? I think the models are sick. I don't get what people are saying, why they hate the little thing Scourge is wearing. It's comic accurate. I love comic accurate models. I really do. I don't care if it looks ridiculous and people want MCU Scourge. I think the one that they have is pretty cool. So yeah,
you can
like
always
it.
paint him. Just paint him in black, and
Yeah.
I've got to find some M16s. So
That's fair.
When
That's fair. What do you hope they do for the game and Asgard as a whole? I think Sam's previous answer is what I hope they do. I think Asgard deserves a spot in the spotlight. For they've been around for so long, and they just like Thor has not been like a bane of my existence since Guardians were just released, when it just Star-Lord, Groot, and Rocket. So when like the game was core box, Wakanda, Thor, and then like Star-Lord, Groot, and Rocket. Thor was a menace back then because like he was the only fight threat outside of MODOK, and it didn't matter so much when he didn't perform as well. It's like, oh, it's fine. It's like he'll come back at you next turn. There's less scary stuff that could deal with Thor. So back then Thor was great, but nowadays Thor people say is sad. So we want happy Thor. I think Asgard's gonna be picked up. I think Asgard will have a good thing. I hope Heimdall has some really cool stuff that deals with like stealth. I don't think because like somebody brought this up the other day, like they already have Rainbow Bridge, so it'd be really weird if Heimdall can like teleport somebody as well. But I hope
he can recycle it. I hope he's got something like pay 2 power to pull it back to your hand or something like that.
Yeah,
give him some insane mobility.
I think Heimdall should be a support character, and Scourge should be just like a 3-threat beater. That's what I'm hoping for. But I hope
feel like Scourge should have something a little sneaky, something like backstabby, and I'd like to if Heimdall's got any sort of dice fixing on him, it's going to be a happy day for Asgard.
Oh yeah, if Heimdall brings dice fixing for Thor, oh my goodness, people will be afraid of Thor again. Oh
yeah.
Anyways, Sam Zilla, with chess clocks becoming more popular at events, what advice do you have for people using them for the first time? I think it's actually a very good one. It's like practice is probably the best thing you could say. Like literally just like try playing with a chess clock, just get reps in with it, play with it, recognize it's there, play with it again, play with it some more, play with it some more. That's really all you can do, is just if you're getting ready to go to an event and you know chess clocks are going to be there and you've never played the chess clock before, get reps in, don't be afraid of it. Start by just playing with it present and just like going through the motions, but don't like pay attention to the time. But then eventually you pay attention to the time, and the next thing you know, you're beating the clock by like 30 minutes. Like that's really all you can do when it comes to chess clocks for the first time.
Yeah. There's a RELAX, relax.
Yeah.
Would be number one. You have time. You are not as slow as you think you are. You are not as fast as you think you are. So don't freak out. Try to relax. You got to stay conscious of the clock. I mean, we play a game with $40 boxes of miniatures, US dollar prices, $40 boxes of miniatures. We paint those guys up with $5 bottle of paints. Maybe like skip Black Swan and Supergiant if you're not into the Black Order, and pick yourself up a chess clock or two, or maybe don't buy those 3 shades of something. Pick up a chess clock instead, and just have one to get the reps on it and get the practice. I'm really bad at clock management, and I have had most of my games on clocks still wind up pretty close to even time, even if we're playing a fair amount of the game on one player's clock. So I mean, just calm down, relax, pay attention to it as much as you can, and when you're playing a game on chess clocks with an opponent, you can help each other out with it. Like, hey, oh, that's on you. Oh no, that's all right. That's back to me.
Be polite. Like
Yeah.
If someone forgets
Be
to like
like,
flip their
click it
clock
over.
back, don't be like, "Hey man, your clock." Like, don't be rude about it.
Just flip
Don't
it
like
over to him.
looking at them passive aggressively, just reaching over, staring at them, and click.
I mean, the last tournament that I went to that I played on clocks, I think it was my round 2 or 3. I just completely forgot we were playing on a clock for the first 15 minutes of the game. And then my opponent had to make a decision. And I was like, oh, you know what? Let's go ahead and just flip this back to you. And I swear it was the first time I had changed my own clock in that game. And it was like, no, let's get our head back in. It's never too late to get your head back in the game. Don't let it get under your skin. And honestly, don't worry about it until it's under like 15 minutes. That's when you got to start paying attention to the clock.
I would say under 5 minutes is when you get.
There you go.
If you're practicing enough, you shouldn't be wasting clock. But anyways, next one from Kenny G. Why is Doctor Strange so good? Because he is the only one that does what he does, I guess. I mean, he's got automatic pushes. He's got, well, I guess for damage, they require damage. No, that's his leadership. It's just automatic pushes. I can't remember. I haven't played Strange in a while.
He's got to do damage. He's got to do damage.
He's got to do
his
damage.
push.
Okay, so I got to do damage to do the push. He's got reroll all, which can be insanely good if it's like complete whiff to a complete slam dunk. I don't know. Strange is just good. Like, there's not really much that can be said about it other than like he is just good. He's in my opinion, he's one of the better 5 threats because of everything he can do. He's a very versatile character. You got anything to add to that?
He's got 2 versions. So when
Yeah,
you said,
he's
you know,
got
why is
2.
Strange the best, I immediately went to Sorcerer Supreme Strange.
Oh. I mean, he's already put a list up going over Strange. He called it Stranger Things. And he's got both Stranges in his list. But yeah, sorry, Kenny. I'm an idiot. All right. Do you have anything else you want to add, or do the close out?
No, I mean, no, nothing this week.
All right.
Thanks for bearing with us and hanging out, and we appreciate it. We'll be
All
back
right.
again.
Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us. We have been the Rogue Agents, and you have been the listener.
Perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
Maximum effort. In this war, there's no surrender. He's out of line, but he's right. Who the hell is Bucky?
You don't like a fair fight.
I think you're wrong. Which part? All of it.
Think you're the only superhero in the world?
Touche.